Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your personal generative AI podcast. Today, we're diving headfirst into the fascinating world of Treewidth. It's a concept that sounds like something from a fantasy novel, but it's actually a cornerstone of graph theory, with implications across numerous fields. Get ready for a mind-bending journey.
Treewidth? Sounds thrilling. So, what exactly is it?
Think of it like this. Imagine you have a graph, a network of interconnected points. Treewidth measures how tree-like that graph is. A tree, obviously, has a tree width of 1, but more complex graphs, well, their tree width reflects how easily they can be broken down into tree-like structures. The lower the tree width, the more tree-like it is, and the easier it is to solve certain problems on that graph.
I see. So it's a measure of complexity, essentially? But how is it actually defined?
That's where it gets really interesting. There are several equivalent definitions, which is kind of amazing. One involves tree decompositions. Imagine breaking down your graph into smaller chunks, represented by bags of vertices, connected in a tree-like structure. The size of the largest bag, -1, gives you the tree width. It's like finding the most efficient way to chop up a complex network into manageable pieces.
Okay, bags of vertices. I'm picturing little sacks full of dots. And the article mentions outer planar graphs. What's that?
Outer planar graphs are graphs that can be drawn on a disk with all vertices on the edge and no edges crossing. Think of it like drawing a map on a flat surface without any roads overlapping. They're a special case where the tree decomposition is particularly elegant, often based on a triangulation of the disk. Dividing the disk into triangles.
Right, triangulation. So if we have a tree decomposition, the width is the size of the largest bag -1. Why the -1?
That's a clever normalization trick. It makes sure that trees themselves have a tree width of 1, which makes intuitive sense. Otherwise, a simple tree would have a tree width equal to its maximum degree. It's a detail, but an important one for consistency.
The article also mentions other ways to define tree width, involving things like chordal supergraphs, havens, and brambles. Those sound like concepts straight out of a fantasy novel.
They are pretty abstract, but they all boil down to the same underlying measure of graph complexity. Chordal supergraphs, for example, are graphs that can be made into a tree-like structure by adding edges. Havens and brambles provide alternative ways to think about the tree-likeness of a graph, offering lower bounds on tree width. It's a rich and interconnected mathematical landscape.
So what's the big deal about tree width? Why should we care?
Oh, the applications are vast. Treewidth is deeply connected to the computational complexity of many graph problems. Many problems that are nitrogen monophosphide complete in general become solvable in polynomial time if the treewidth is bounded. This is a huge deal in algorithm design. Think graph coloring, for example.
Graph coloring? Like coloring a map so no adjacent regions have the same color?
Exactly. It's a classic nitrogen monophosphide complete problem, meaning it's notoriously difficult to solve for large graphs. But if your graph has bounded tree width, you can find an optimal coloring efficiently using a clever dynamic programming approach that works its way up and down the tree decomposition. It's brilliant.
That's amazing. And what other applications are there?
Loads. Sparse numerical linear algebra, Bayesian inference, game theory, low-dimensional topology, network science, even algebraic geometry. Wherever you have graphs representing relationships, Treewidth can help you understand the complexity of the problem and design more efficient algorithms. It's a truly powerful concept.
This is incredible. It's amazing how such a seemingly abstract concept has such wide-ranging practical applications. So what's the future of Treewidth research?
That's a great question. There's a lot of active research on extending the idea of Treewidth to other graph parameters, dealing with directed graphs, and finding ways to characterize graphs where efficient testing of logical properties is possible. New parameters like twin width and flip width are emerging, pushing the boundaries of what we can efficiently compute. It's a very active and exciting field.
This has been a truly enlightening discussion. Thank you for explaining Treewidth in such a clear and engaging way.
My pleasure. And thank you for listening to Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the wonderful world of Treewidth. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of mathematics and computer science. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.